Mark Meadows? That filthy little Christian terrorist? Boy, if ever there was a cowardly little shit who was White House chief of staff, it would be Mark Meadows. He was involved up to his roomy little eyeballs to keep Donald Jesus in power after the 2020 election told Donald Jesus Trump to get the fuck out of town. Well, he was ordered today to travel to Atlanta to testify into the criminal investigation that is being conducted here by Fani Willis, District Attorney of Fulton County, Georgia, which is Atlanta. Testify in her criminal investigation of Trump and his scum trying to stick their sticky fucking fingers into the election here in Georgia. Now, Meadows, like all of these criminal bastards, has been fighting to avoid appearing before a special grand jury that has been investigating all this here in Georgia. Mark Meadows has a lawyer, of course. His lawyer, James Bannister, said, oh, yeah, he's going to appeal the decision. Yup. And eventually the appeal will go to the Black Avenger on the U.S. Supreme Court because Meadows will say it's an emergency appeal, and emergency appeals that come out of the South in this particular district go to the Black Avenger, the bulk, ugly fucker that sits in the corner of the Supreme Court. But Meadows' lawyer said, yeah, he's going to appeal the decision. Sure he is. Anything. These people do anything to throw sand into the wheels of justice. They always do. Now, this lawyer is employing apparently a legal strategy that's been used in Texas. That's the home of 3 witnesses who were summoned by Fulton County but have not appeared. And this is the party of law and order, right? No, this is a party of making black folk disappear, among other things. After a legal challenge by one of the witnesses in Texas, a majority of judges on the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals came up with the view that the Georgia grand jury was not a proper criminal grand jury because it lacked indictment authority and thus probably lacked standing to compel the appearance of witnesses from Texas. Oh, well, of course. All right. Okay. No, Fani Willis's grand jury does not have the power to indict people. Now, what that means in the legal sense, well, obviously, it just means that any type of subpoena issued by that grand jury is not enforceable. How could it be? But here again, these scum, filthy white people who are trying to destroy the government of the United States and in the process the country are using little nooks and crannies of the constitutions, whether it's state or federal constitution, to deny the rule of law. And in so many instances, they get away with it. They succeed. And as soon as these fuckers get power, they're going to remove all that shit real quick. So that if you or I or somebody who is not a Christian terrorist is summoned before a grand jury, we better fucking show up or they will put us in prison for the term of the grand jury, or maybe forever. But that's how Christian terrorists operate. That's what they do. They have as much respect for the law as I have for a rat out here in the field. Zero. Well, no, wait, I have more respect for the rat. Yeah, okay. But that is a strategy, apparently, that Mark Meadows, this little Christian terrorist weenie, his lawyer is going to use. Meadows is a resident of South Carolina, and he just didn't bother showing up at this hearing today. You know, the attitude of the Trump scum is just fuck them all, the long, the short, and the tall. Fuck them. I don't have to do anything. I'm a Christian. I can do what I want, and my Jesus will love me forever. Now, in the court hearing, Bannister, that's Mark Meadows' lawyer, he tried to persuade the circuit court judge that the grand jury in Georgia was not criminal in nature. But The South Carolina judge in the first hearing noted that the judge in Fulton County, who is overseeing the Atlanta proceeding, I'm talking about Robert McBurney, not Fannie Willis, had considered the question and recently ruled that the grand jury was indeed criminal in nature. So the judge in South Carolina, who told Meadows to get his ass over here, said, quote, "Do I give full faith and credit to our sister state's rulings?" And the answer to that was yes. And that's why Bannister, Mark Meadows' attorney, went to an appellate court to weasel his way out of it. And he succeeded, I think. So the investigation here in Atlanta and Fulton County is being conducted by a grand jury known under Georgia law as a special purpose grand jury. I just want you to know this because I find it mildly interesting. Not fascinating, but mildly interesting. And a special purpose grand jury can sit for longer periods than a regular grand jury. And the special purpose grand jury has the ability or the power to subpoena targets the investigation to provide testimony. But it lacks the power, like I mentioned earlier, to issue indictments itself. So no matter what is discovered, Fannie Willis's grand jury can't indict people. Instead, a special purpose grand jury issues a report and recommendations. That's what this is all about here. You know, for people around the country who thought, well, you know, they're going to get Trump on this one. No, not necessarily. Trump is like a little blob of mercury, you know, just, you know, when you push down on it, it scoots over there. But a special purpose grand jury issues a report and also issues recommendations as to what it thinks should happen. And then prosecutors can use that information to seek indictments from a regular grand jury. So you see how convoluted and drawn out this process is. And the whole objective is to stop this filth, these white male Christian terrorists from destroying the fucking country. And I've said it before, if you and I decide tomorrow to, I don't know, we decide to walk into a bank and we're not armed, but we hand a note to the teller, you and me, give me your goddamn money or I'm going to blow the place up. Whoop! And then we get caught. You and I are going to go to prison for a very long time. Not just on the bank robbery charge. Oh, I know we didn't get any money. That doesn't matter. Not just on the bank robbery charge, but on conspiracy to commit bank robbery. So you and I will go to prison for 15, 20 years. Well, we may get off for good behavior after 10. But these son of a bitches who try and continue to try to completely, totally shred and destroy this country, well, they can argue, well, it's a special purpose grand jury and I don't have to respond. And, it's going to take forever because it goes from them to him to her and then over there and then up there and then down here. And plus along the way, well, I've got all kinds of courts that I can get to put a halt on things or slow things down or turn things around. My name's Donald Jesus fucking Trump. I've learned how to do this. I spent my whole life learning how to do this. You may have your experts in the law, but I, Donald Jesus fucking Trump, I am an expert in how to thwart the law. So let the games begin. Right? Now, for her part, Fannie Willis, the district attorney here in Fulton County, she said in a statement earlier this month, this, quote, "We expect every state to abide by the constitutional requirements to ensure the full faith and credit is given by them to the laws and proceedings of other states. That requirement includes abiding by the interstate compact to produce witnesses for other states' judicial proceedings," end quote. And, I get this feeling I want to go to Miss Fannie Willis and bring her a cup of tea and sit down in her office and say, ma'am, Miss District Attorney, listen, I understand and I completely agree with you, but dear heart, the fact that you were citing law and citing an unspoken compact among the states to honor each other's laws doesn't mean any of that's going to happen. So drink your tea, take your shoes off, kick your feet up on the desk if you want to, and let's watch, let's watch a movie. No? Okay. Now, what has been revealed by the January 6 committee hearings includes revealing some of the little pissy Christian terrorist Mark Meadows' role, a very important role, in challenging the election results in various states after Election Day, especially here in Georgia. And drawing heavily, here's what the Washington Post says, quote, drawing heavily on records that Mr. Meadows turned over to investigators, the hearings have found that, among other things, Mr. Meadows repeatedly asked the Department of Justice to conduct investigations based on Mr. Trump's unfounded theories about election improprieties around the country, end quote. Now, if you remember, back when all this shit started, the committee, the January 6th committee, beginning of this year, Mark Meadows had diarrhea of the mouth. Oh, he just couldn't wait. Oh, here's my emails. Here's my diaries. Here's everything. Here's my text message. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And it looked like he was going to be a fully cooperating witness. The former chief of staff of the President of the United States, willing, able, and having all the information necessary to provide to the committee proof of the criminal activity of Donald Jesus Trump. But then, after he had apparently turned over volumes of documents, all of a sudden somebody got to him and said, "Are you out of your fucking mind? Stop this shit now or somebody's going to put crosshairs on the back of your head." And then get your ass down to Mar-a-Lago and beg forgiveness from Donald Jesus, which apparently is close to, if not exactly, what happened. Because all of a sudden, Mark Meadows clammed up like a clam. Not another word. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.